Kit Green isn't usually the kind of man who goes around attacking people in Coronation Street, unless they're threatening his mother. But the law is still the law, so will Lisa Swain turn a blind eye when her colleague and friend assaults Mal Roer again? Kit Green isn't exactly the best example of a Weatherfield police officer. The morally questionable cop has a long history of bending rules and blurring ethical lines to suit his own agenda, including the time he planted evidence to frame Nathan Curtis over the murder of Lauren Bolton. He has also blackmailed Beth Tinker into leaving Weatherfield after more than a decade on the cobbles, and previously allowed Mick Michaelis to take the fall for an arson attack while he went on to join the police force himself. In short, Kit Green has often been seen as a corrupt copper in all but name. Unsurprisingly, his unorthodox methods have put him at odds with determined DS Lisa Swain, who has frequently challenged his questionable policing style. However, her stance has softened slightly since Kit helped save her fiancée Carla Connor from the dangerous Becky Swain Cudden. Even so, Lisa may struggle to object to a bit of vigilante justice when it comes to Mal Roer, an unstable electrician whose behavior has become increasingly disturbing. Mal became fixated on Bernie Winter after meeting her while she was grieving the death of Billy Mayhew at the Chariot Square Hotel. His obsession led him to move to Weatherfield just to stay close to her. But Bernie remained loyal to her husband Dev Alahan and rejected Mal's advances, which he did not handle well at all. Neither did Kit, especially after hearing about Mal's disturbing harassment campaign against Bernie. It therefore came as no shock when the attacker who left Mal hospitalized turned out to be Kit Green himself, though Mal's collapse was largely due to a heart attack. Staying true to his role, Kit initially let suspicion fall on his mother, who was arrested after previously threatening to kill Mal. He also kept the truth from his girlfriend Sarah Platt before eventually confessing to her in confidence. However, things took a turn when Mal regained consciousness and later confronted Kit, revealing that he knew Kit was responsible for the attack. Now, Kit's problems appear to have eased after recent episodes suggested Mal fled to Inverness following backlash from Jody Ramsey, who flooded his business with negative reviews. But that relief may be short-lived. Upcoming episodes see Mal making a sinister return to the cobbles, putting Bernie and those closest to her in danger and forcing Kit into drastic decisions. In upcoming scenes, Roy Cropper returns early from a Batwatch meeting feeling unwell and discovers a power cut at home. He sends Jody off for the day and goes to bed, unaware of what's coming. Jody later leaves the area as Mal watches from across the street, plotting something unknown. Soon after, Carla approaches Dev and Bernie outside the cafe and notices smoke pouring from Roy's flat. Everyone assumes Roy is still at his bat meeting, but he is actually unconscious inside, trapped in smoke-filled danger. Following the dramatic fire at Roy's Rolls, Lisa later confronts Kit at the police station and informs him that Mal Roer is accusing him of assault. Kit plays innocent and insists Mal is unstable and targeting anyone connected to Bernie. Whether Lisa believes his version of events remains to be seen. Coronation Street's Summer Spellman says she doesn't know what she'll do, as Theo Silverton is exposed. Summer Spellman uncovers that Theo Silverton may have been involved in the death of her guardian Billy Mayhew, leaving actress Harriet Bibby admitting she doesn't know what her character will do next. As viewers of the ITV soap will know, Debbie Webster recently served time in prison after pleading guilty to dangerous driving causing Billy's death in a devastating multi-vehicle crash earlier this year, when in fact it was Carl Webster who was behind the wheel. A heartbroken Summer initially blamed Debbie for Billy's death and wanted her punished for what she believed was her wrongdoing. However, Debbie has since been released from prison and has been attempting to rebuild her life by returning to work at the Chariot Square Hotel. Last week, Summer confronted Debbie after spotting her, demanding answers about the night Billy died. She directly questioned whether Debbie was protecting someone else and not actually driving at the time of the crash. When Carl's name was mentioned, Debbie quickly tried to walk away, which only strengthened Summer's suspicions. Moments later, Ryan Connor arrived, and a panicked Debbie accidentally grabbed hot plates from the kitchen. She screamed in pain as she burned herself, prompting Ryan to tell her to drop them while Asha Alahan rushed in to help. Carl also appeared at the scene, but was immediately confronted by an angry Summer who told him she knew exactly what he had done. Back at the flat, Debbie asks Carl what they plan to do now that Summer seems to know the truth. After later bumping into Carl, Summer is told she should dig closer to home for answers about what really happened, leaving her even more puzzled. In Sunday's episode of Coronation Street, Summer confides in Asha Alahan, sharing her belief that someone other than Carl may have been involved in the death of Billy Mayhew, and asking what Asha remembers from the crash. When Summer receives a message from Todd Grimshaw, she heads to his flat but is shocked to find only Theo Silverton there. Trying to piece together the events of the night Billy died, she questions Theo about Billy's final moments after he was left in a minibus that burst into flames, which leaves Theo worried she may know more than she is revealing. Later, at the Rovers, Summer meets Todd and is stunned when he confirms he is leaving for Belfast the next day with Theo. Realizing it may be her only chance to speak up, Summer tells him that Carl suggested someone else was involved in Billy's death. She adds that while she believes Theo could be capable, she cannot understand his motive for wanting Billy dead. Talking about Summer Spellman's growing doubts, actress Harriet Bibby explained that her character genuinely believes Theo Silverton could be capable of murder. She said Summer has recently been overwhelmed by grief over the death of Billy Mayhew, which has left her emotionally consumed and unable to properly notice what is happening around her. Because of this intense grief, she admitted that Summer did not initially recognize anything suspicious in Theo's behavior. But as soon as doubts begin to surface, everything suddenly starts to fall into place. Harriet went on to explain that once Summer starts connecting the dots, past events begin to take on a completely new meaning. Things that once seemed odd or insignificant were previously dismissed or ignored for various reasons, but after her realization, she can no longer overlook them or see them in any other way. At that point, she becomes fully convinced that Theo is capable of committing the crime she suspects him of. She also spoke about Summer's increasing concern for Todd Grimshaw, saying that her worry comes from feeling emotionally burdened and isolated following Billy's death. On top of that, she is now terrified for Todd's safety, believing he may be in real danger due to his situation. In Summer's eyes, Todd is the only person she truly has left to rely on, and the thought of losing him as well leaves her feeling anxious and desperate, unsure how she would cope if anything were to happen to him. ITV1 airs Coronation Street on weeknights at 8:30 p.m., and it is also available to stream on ITVX.